Hello and welcome to this special Car Dealer Live where we're going to be discussing the results of our exclusive research into the most profitable car dealers in the UK. We've just published the latest Car Dealer Top 100, this year sponsored by Carwow and compiled by the accountancy experts at Cooper Parry. Now joining me for this chat about the list is Ian McMahon. He's the partner at Cooper Parry. Ian, how are you?
Oh, all good, James. All
Nice
good,
to
thank
see you.
you.
Thanks for joining us. And John Veichmanis he's the CEO of Carwow. He's here with us too. Nice to see you, John.
Hey, James, great to see you again.
Lovely. Thank you for joining us, both of you. Now, I always love this time of year. I like looking through this list. I find it absolutely fascinating, especially after we've covered most of the accounts of these car dealer groups over the year. Let's just talk about the headlines first. I'll just go through some of those quickly before we come to you, Ian, for a bit of detail. This year's list of the top 100 most profitable dealers is generated using EBITDA profits, and it showed that the total for the car dealer top 100 was £2 billion. That sounds like a huge number, but when you compare it to last year's figures, it's down considerably. That was 2.6 billion. Revenue is also down drastically on the year before at 72.8 billion in total for the top 100. That's compared to 88.8 billion the year before. So some big drops there. They point to a difficult year for the motor trade. We've seen that in not all of the accounts, but most of the accounts that we have been covering here at Car Dealer Magazine over the last 12 months. Ian, give us some detail then behind those headline numbers. I mean, they don't look great, do they? I mean, it was a difficult year, 24, wasn't it, for the motor trade?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, James. I suppose, putting in context, we came off quarter four 2023. The used car prices struggled a little bit, but even so, before we get into the detail of the list, when we're compiling it, you do set yourself an expectation. And when we think back to earlier in 25, that was when you start to see the real increases in national minimum wage and employers' national insurance. So a vast majority of these statistics are for the period before that. So you're right, we've got a fairly significant fall in EBITDA. Ultimately, there's some people that have risen up the rankings and some that have, unfortunately slipped back. The sort of the 10 out of the 100 or the top 20 out of the 100, there's the usual suspects in there. Heading up the chart is certainly Arnold Clark yet again, and that is one heck of a business, as we've said before. This year turning in 380 million at an EBITDA number, which is up year on year from 366. But when you condense that sort of top 10 in as a population, they contribute sort of 33 billion of turnover of the whole population. So if we're doing that sort of 10 and 90 ratio, you really can see that those sort of top 10 businesses contribute a massive number to the UK economy and the industry as a whole.
It's been a real mixed picture, hasn't it, there at the top of the table? As you mentioned there, Arnold Clark in number one, profits of 380 million, 380.8 million to be exact, compared to 366 million the year before. So they had a very, very successful year. They've obviously done better when we look at these numbers. I just think it's worth probably explaining why we use the EBITDA number. I mean, why do we use that? It's because it gives us a real accurate picture as the performance of the business, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it isn't right to say that you could use another measure of profit. You absolutely could. But EBITDA, so it's earnings before interest, taxation, depreciation, and amortization. Now, as a sad accountant, amortization, depreciation, the non-cash affecting. So in most of the cases, we think that if you strip them out, you're looking at the true underlying performance of the business. Interest, well, we do leave in stock in interest. So we try to just carve out institutional debt interest rather than taking out the stocking charges. But I think what that does give you is a really good underlying, effectively an illustration of what could that business generate in terms of cash?
So in terms of that top 10, just a bit of a review. You got Arnold Clark in first place, Sytner again in second place, but their profits dropped drastically from 246 million last year to 205 million in these most recent table. Lookers are in third place with 125 million pounds of profit. CEM Day in fourth, and Vertu, the only listed business now left on that list when it comes to franchise dealers, in fifth with 86 million pounds. So they're down. Vertu are down. CEM are down on last year. Sytner are down. So three of the top five have seen their profits drop in the last year. What do you think is the main driver for that?
Well, certainly in the background, we've still had some knock-on effect from the expectation that people are transitioning to agency. And I do think that has meant that some of the support from the manufacturers and the OEM partners has sort of fallen back a little bit, maybe over the last couple of years. But I do think it, certainly with most of the clients we've been speaking to over the last 12 months, it's just that cost creep, the continual increase in facilities costs, insurance, and obviously the absolute key for this industry is employee remuneration, and that it's only going one way in the last few years.
Yeah, definitely getting more expensive. John, I'm going to come to you on this one. I mean, there's top five there that we've just seen. What do you think has been a big driver in that dip in profits? I mean, you're talking to dealers all the time. I mean, 2024 was quite tough, wasn't it?
Yes, I'd probably share Ian's perspectives, actually. I think certainly when I talk to dealers, and I know many of the NI changes, minimum wage changes only kicked in April this year, but I think to Ian's point, there's been quite a significant amount of inflation in costs in payroll, taxation, insurance, etc. So I definitely get a sense when I talk to dealer partners that that is really challenging. And I think that is a background where I don't think consumer confidence has fallen off a cliff, but we definitely see that consumers are making more considered purchases. Obviously, buying a car is a commitment, and I think they're scrubbing their budgets hard. And obviously, we are in a higher interest rate environment as well, so those monthly costs are typically much higher. And so I think consumers are doing a lot more research. They're potentially going to buy a slightly cheaper car than they may have in the past. So even though we're seeing the total number of car changes is actually quite healthy, I think it is more difficult, more time consuming actually, in part to manage those customers and get them into their new car.
Yeah, lots of pressures out there, but there has been some successes on this table. We've seen that in the independent market too, haven't we? And those businesses that focus on used cars, Motorpoint back up there in the top 20, 19th in the list. They dropped quite considerably last year. I think they were one of our biggest fallers, but back up there performing once again. Closely followed by Car Giant in 20th position, I see on the list, or 21st position on this list. So what's your take on those independent businesses, those ones that focus on used? I mean, has that been a mixed picture too?
Yeah, it's it really does demonstrate how the underlying values of the vehicles, how it can affect profitability, and I think both of those businesses you've mentioned there, the stock holding in units and monetary terms that they must have. But wow, if they don't react to the guide and if they don't react to what the market dictates, then they aren't going to realise the sale. If they have to take some pain in terms of the inventory that they carry at a balance sheet date, then again, it's going to really hit their results. So I think what we've probably seen in those businesses is 23 was a really poor year as they aligned the used stock so they could hit the ground running in 24, which has, in both cases delivered some really good turnaround.
And in terms of those big fallers on the list, there are a few, aren't there? I mean, am I right in thinking Big Motoring World was one, Citygate another?
Yeah, it's. I kind of guess we see a lot publicised about Big Motoring World's fortunes, but if you're to compare and contrast what have Motorpoint done right or Car Giant done right that perhaps Big Motoring World haven't. It's probably coming down to leadership and focus, and really getting a grip on the whole cycle from purchasing to actual eventual retail. And then there's another couple in there, the likes of Citygate and Vospers, that haven't fared as well this year neither.
Yeah, there's quite a few businesses that have dropped down the table. What about the positives though? I mean, let's talk about some of the big risers. Who've got it right last year?
Well, you mentioned Motorpoint. There's a couple that have moved up the index, but it's maybe down to an accounting change. So LSH looks a lot better than last year, but I think there's about 6 million in there, which is an accounting transition change. Caffins have walked up the list quite a bit as well. I think they're up 20 places. Graham Bell Holdings, so again, another good, strong used car performance. And Vantage, I think, have also walked up that list as well quite a way.
Yeah, nice to see some positivity in there. What about the surprises then on the list? Any performance really stand out for you? And I think any of those businesses really caught your eye?
Funny enough, before the call today, you obviously drew our attention to just trying to look around the corner of the screen there, what I was looking at before.
Tom Hartley Jr.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I suppose that's one of the things that I do like about the way we compile this list. That business wouldn't even get a look in if it was just all done on turnover, but because it's done on profitability, and he's had a couple of phenomenal consignments this year, it just goes to show that you have got the monoliths, you have got the Arnold Clark, you have got the Sytners out there that year in, year out turn a massive result. But let's not forget about the independents, the used car businesses, and some of the smaller dealer groups that really do move heaven and earth to generate a good return.
Yeah, definitely. An incredible performance from Tom Hartley Jr. this year, and our outstanding achievement winner at the Used Car Awards this week. So yeah, very, very well deserved. John, what are your thoughts on this list then? Any standouts to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that this is still a tremendously dynamic industry, and I suppose we are also coming off some of the highs post-pandemic as well. So perhaps there is some adjustment to be made there. I continue to see when I talk to dealer partners, both big and some of the smaller ones, when we look further down the list in terms of size and scale, really continuing to innovate. So particularly on using data, there's been a massive shift, actually, I think, in terms of how partners are using data to buy cars, how to price cars. I know you're leading the charge as well, James. So we. I do think there's further opportunities, I think, for more innovation to make businesses more efficient. Again, obviously AI is a sort of amazingly popular topic across all business industries. But again, I think within this category, you're seeing meaningful change, actually, where dealers are making quite meaningful investments, actually, to improve the service to consumers, but also making that more efficient. So I still think these are still amazing businesses, and there's still lots of opportunity to generate more revenue and more profit through future-facing initiatives.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of information to digest in this year's list. You can do that on our website. It's cardealermagazine.co.uk, where you'll be able to read the list in detail and look at all the graphs that we've produced off the back of it. Ian, thank you very much for compiling this list. Thank you to the Cooper Parry team for all of the hard work as usual. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for the opportunity to get it out there.
No worries whatsoever. Thank you. And thanks to you, John, too, for your thoughts and for your help in this webcast. I much appreciate it.
No problem. Good to see you guys.
Nice to see you. So that is John and Ian, John from Carwow, Ian from Cooper Parry, and thank you to them both for helping out with me and this year's list for the Car Dealer Top 100. As I say, you can find out full details on our website, cardealermagazine.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.